Hello my dears and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon. This back here, that's Bernard. He's my October co-host. So this might be his final appearance for the year unless I can find him a Santa hat, and then we'll just carry him on through the holidays. So we'll see how it goes. But today I've got another book talk video to share with you guys, and today we are talking about A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers. This felt like a good book talk to post today on Halloween as I'm posting it. Because it's wild and it's graphic and it's gory and it's, well, you'll see. So first I'll give you just sort of a basic synopsis of the story before we get into any spoilers, and before we do, again, I'll warn you so you can leave if you don't want to hear them. But even saying that, I'm not sure how much detail I can get into anyway, because this is YouTube and this is a lot, so I don't know if they would like that. Anyway, so basically the premise of this book is we've got our main character, Dorothy Daniels, and currently she's, I think, 52 years old, and she's serving a life prison sentence. And the book is written kind of as a mock memoir of her, telling us about her life, her crimes, and how she ends up finally getting caught and ending up in jail. So basically, you see, Dorothy likes to live an extravagant, wild type of lifestyle. The book spans a good 30 years. So starting in the 80s, the 80s, late 80s, coming on up through into more present time. So throughout her whole life, so she's a writer, first of all, let me tell you that. And she does a bunch of different newspaper jobs, magazine jobs, but eventually she lands a job as a food critic, which was a very interesting way for this book to go. Someone who's so passionate about really good food, and then how it all sort of ties together. So she gets a job as a food critic. She has a lot of lovers. She's a beautiful, sensual woman with a ton of lovers. And as time goes by, she... I'm trying to think of how to word it. As time goes by, the first time it happens, it's sort of on a whim, and she accidentally, well, not accidentally, she does it on purpose, but it was not planned, kills one of her lovers. And then there's just something about it. She decides to take a piece of him with her to eat it later at home. And that kind of just becomes her thing. Having these lovers and killing and eating them. I don't know if YouTube's gonna strike this video. Anyway, when I first started the book, I was like, I wasn't entirely feeling it. I didn't like the writing style. And the thing about it is, our main character, Dorothy, she's incredibly unlikable. She's pretentious. She's there's no really way to connect, I found, with her as a character. But that's fine. You don't have to like all the characters, but there's got to be something about them that intrigues you, and I definitely was intrigued by Dorothy. After I finally got into it, after a few chapters, I was very interested to see how it was all going to unravel, how she was going to end up in prison, and all that stuff. There are parts of this book that really make me think of, I don't know if you've read it, by Bret Easton Ellis, American Psycho. There's that sort of kind of eye-rolling pretentiousness where you're like, which I also liked that book. So I felt similarly about the two main characters. Although I just find it's more interesting to read when it's just a unhinged, untethered woman who's just going for it. So if you don't want any spoilers, now would be the time to click away. I'm not really going to go into details about the deaths of the men or anything, but more just details about my thoughts of how it goes on and how it ends and things like that. So beat it. And I hope you have a great Halloween and be safe. Okay, now that they're gone, let's continue. So yeah, like I said, unlikable main character. A lot of the characters, there's not many, but a lot of them were unlikable. But the book, for all of that, it's so beautifully written. There were words in here I had to look up because I'd never heard them used before. And I feel like I've got a pretty good, grasp on vocabulary, and there were so many. I was like, I'd jotting down words and I'd be like, wow, just beautiful words. The story's told really beautifully. At first, when I started reading this, I thought this is going to be a 2 or 3 star for me. But by the time I got to the end, it's more of a 4 or 5 star. But again, if you don't like graphic descriptions of murder, it's probably not going to be for you. It's also really raunchy, like some of the language used. It's not for the faint of heart, just from all angles. And if you don't like super sexual language, probably avoid this one as well. But I enjoyed it. And like I said, I liked each chapter begins with the name of a dish. Like whether that's, a lot of them I can't pronounce. Like chapter 8's called rump roast. And then, what else? Yeah, so just each chapter starts with the name of a dish, a fancy dish. And I just thought the use of food through to sex, through to to murder, I guess. And then once again, back to food was just so interesting. And the way she wrote it, there was something beautiful about it. And I liked that. I liked it. And I'll be very interested to see what Chelsea comes out with next, because I'll definitely be checking it out. And just, like I said, incredibly talented. So anyway, as the book progresses, we learn more and more about Dorothy's best friend, Emma. And Emma's this highly prolific artist, but who's also agoraphobic and can't really leave her home. So Dorothy goes over there often to visit with her and confide in her. Anyway, at one point in the story, the police become suspicious of Dorothy because she's done this many times. We're talking 5, 6, 7 times. But at one point, the police get her in their sights and they question her. And so that night, Dorothy goes over to Emma's house and is telling her that an ex-lover of hers died, and that the police are in touch, and Emma's like, oh my God, are you okay? Is everything all right? So anyway, after that, Dorothy begins, this is when we see Dorothy really begin to unravel. She becomes paranoid, and she starts to, because her and Emma get really drunk that night. And then as time goes by, Dorothy starts to wonder if she told Emma too much. She's like, did I tell her that I killed that guy? Did I tell her what had happened? And then she just starts getting more and more paranoid that she did, and that Emma is going to turn her into the police. Confirm their suspicions that, yes, she did have something to do with this death. So this paranoia builds until eventually Dorothy comes to the conclusion that she has to kill Emma. So she goes over, she sneaks over one night. She's decided she's going to bring her knife and she's just going to end it. Even though if Emma had already spoken to the police, why are you going to kill her now? It's too late. Anyway, I digress. So she goes over to the apartment building. She knows that she's not going to be able to pick the lock on the front door, so she goes around to sort of the service entrance. She picks the lock. Now, what Dorothy doesn't know is that there's a silent alarm that's triggered when this happens. So she goes in, she breaks into the actual, Emma's individual apartment, and then she goes into the bedroom and she's speaking out loud. She's like, you told the cops that I killed this guy. And she's going on and on, basically a long-winded verbal confession before she finally goes to swing her cleaver at the bed where she's thinking Dorothy's neck will be. Emma's not in there. Emma was sitting out on the balcony having a cigarette when Dorothy came in. So the silent alarm triggered a call to the police. Emma, sitting outside, seeing that someone's breaking into her house, also called the police, thinking it was a stranger, right? And so now the police are there, and after Dorothy's done with her tirade, the police are like, hands up, don't move, we've got you. And then Dorothy realizes that Emma had not, in fact, spoken to the police, but now she herself has given them a verbal confession. And that's how she ends up going to jail and getting sentenced to, I think it's life plus 20 years for all of her many crimes. So I thought it was interesting. And there's just something, I know I've used the word pretentious before, which fits very well, but like there's just something about this way this woman speaks, even though she is like just in prison forever, that's so like, you can tell she still thinks she's so much better than everybody else. And like I said, not a likable character, but an intriguing one. You're like, girl, what is going on with you? What's going on with you? And look at this cover. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And a great title, A Certain Hunger. So I would recommend, if you don't mind things that tend to, you know, push the limits, are a little gory, a little graphic, a little tougher to digest, as it were. And yeah, if you like that kind of stuff, which I do, and it's, you know, it's different than anything I've read in a while. And yeah, I think I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars. I might round it up to 5, just for that alone. And the writing's so beautiful. Have a dictionary handy because you might need it. So that's just about going to do it for me for today. I think that's pretty much all I've got to tell you about, because everything else that I could tell you is just graphic details of men being murdered. I'll save it for the book. Anyway, let me know in the comments down below if you've read this and what you thought of it. I know people seem to either love it or hate it. So I thought, and I see a lot of people DNF'd it, and I feel like maybe if they had kept going, they would have come around a little, because I also was feeling very tepid about it in the beginning. I was like, but it grew on me. It grew on me. Anyway, again, be safe this Halloween. And a new episode of my podcast with my friend Krista Emter is out. I will link that down below. We did a episode talking about Pet Sematary by Stephen King. And yeah, I will see you guys again real soon. Bye.